Did Mutahar just cancel his podcast? And Moist Critical ended up leaving his podcast. And the Ava Tyson Discord leaks have been exposed. There's so many things that we'll be talking about today in Crook News. Hi, welcome to Content News, where we'll be talking about popular content creators around the world. Today, we'll be talking about Moist Critical. So with his viral rant about kids chopping off their wieners and changing their genders, he got a lot of hate from that.
Somebody can have, okay, do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
Okay, so as long as everyone...
If your parents are okay with it and you are okay with it, I think that's totally a familiar decision to make, yeah.
Oh. He ended up stepping away from his official podcast. Somebody in his team ended up stating that, "Goodbye, Charlie. Hey everyone, effective immediately. Charlie has made the decision to leave both the official podcast and Red Thread. He wants to go on an indefinite hiatus to scale back his time spent on the internet. We obviously wish him the best, for everyone to respect his decision and for all to know that the show will always be open for him to drop by and talk shop should he wish to return. The official podcast, Red Thread, and Criminally Stupid are not going anywhere in the light of this announcement." From this statement, Moist Critical is taking a step back from the internet and his official podcast because he doesn't want to get a lot of hate from that take. He doesn't want to handle all this hate that he's getting right now, because in every stream that Moist goes, he'll be seeing a lot of people talking bad about him, like, "Oh, why are you here talking about kids, Moist? Ill, Moist, I hate you now, you're disgusting for saying that." He sees the bad negativity that came towards Moist, so that's why he's kind of stepping away from the internet right now. That's not the only thing about the podcast. We got Mutahar over here. In the Ordinary Podcast, Mutahar has stated that he's finishing the podcast. Like, he's not gonna be making no more videos on it. A lot of people are saying that, oh, he's just rebranding it. He's just rebranding the podcast.
This podcast is not over because of Nux and his situation currently. Ladies and gentlemen, a couple days ago at this point, I was on a podcast, or not a podcast, but I was on a live stream with a creator known as Chud Logic. And I wasn't exactly clear as to the ending of the podcast, which really is an ending. Let me be more clear with you. The timing of this is actually purely coincidental, like you see on all those disclaimers for any movie or television show you're watching, or video game that you're playing. No, in reality, what actually happened is me and Caleb, we have our own kind of thing over here that, ultimately, behind the scenes, the podcast and rather the ownership of it and the structure of it is something that we're actually working on again. I actually went out and flew out about a week and a half ago with Caleb, and we filmed a lot of IRL stuff, and we kind of had our own sort of idea as to what the podcast should really be. If you haven't noticed, the weekly podcast, some of the episodes might have been a little bit phoned in. There was a lot of rambling, so me and Caleb and Nux have basically decided that it's better to restructure the podcast, basically have ownership ourselves, and to the point of actually making a set, so we do more IRL stuff. So a lot of it is really set on, building a set. I'm flying down to Texas more often, hopefully down the road, to be filming IRL and doing the podcast with Caleb. More so like you would see with typical like IRL style podcasts, where you can actually do the hosts on camera sitting next to each other, and one where we don't necessarily even need to have a guest like every week, try to figure out how to get Nux on the entire show, being the fact that he lives in an NFT land and an NFT world, so to get him onto the actual podcast is another challenge itself. So it's really something where we're taking some time to stop the podcast, restructure, and possibly rebrand it and get the ownership directly under all three of us, which is something we didn't necessarily have with the Some Ordinary podcast. So I hope that clears things up. The timing was purely coincidental, and obviously I would love to work with Nux and Caleb again and get this podcast more structured in a way that we really want to push out, especially with the quality that we imagine and, just the style that we want to bring. So hopefully that clears things up, and I'm going to leave it right back to my friend.
Mutahar has stated that the only thing that he's ending the podcast is because he wants to rebrand it. He wants to have and his friends fully own the podcast, like to have fully ownership to the podcast. That way they could make a lot amount of money for themselves. Now we'll be talking about the MrBeast Games. MrBeast is filming a humongous competition in Amazon in Las Vegas. A lot of people came out and said that, the Beast Games was a terrible experience for them.
The lack of water, food, and medical attention was embarrassing and sad. Women and elders injured. I witnessed 2 seizures, a sprained ankle. Staff and medical did nothing to help her, leaving her for hours crying. Teammates were helping console and aimed to get the staff to assist. PAs ignored us. I witnessed a rope literally wrapped around a young woman's neck, choking her out on the red team. Multiple people being trampled on their heads and chests. I blamed the production and MrBeast for standing in front of us, encouraging the mosh pits and people fighting over jerseys. Many of us, nervous for our safety, it was difficult to breathe or even stand up straight. The ones eliminated were discarded without food, water, hotel, or flight home. Without a safe space to decompress, we just sat around the casino at slot machines, delirious and starving. In some cases for over 24 hours without anything. Spouses and family members were furious. I know one account of someone driving across states to come pick up their loved one. The production's travel department was non-responsive. No one would answer calls or emails. The hotel would not let us rebook unless there was a flight arranged. The very first challenge, it was 5 teams and 400 people pulling 10,000 pounds. At first, they split us up into 4 teams, A, B, C, and D. So we all lined up in front of the rope. When they told us that we had to split into teams of 400, no one moved. So instead, they said we would get our colored jerseys for our teams. They started throwing jerseys, and this led to me in a mosh pit getting squished. There were 3 other girls around me, but were shorter. We were trying to keep each other from falling as we were getting squished. This was honestly so scary for me, and I know they won't show this. I ended up getting out of the pit and saw a male contestant who had 8 orange jerseys. I asked him for one, and he told me no. The strong young men were picking their teams so they could win. My team ended up being the red team, of older people and rest women. We ended up losing because the people at the end of the rope had fallen down and the rope was choking them. People were on top of each other, squishing them. Production told us we had to keep going and they weren't going to stop the challenge. Well, that led to us stop pulling and start helping those who were hurt. This incident led to 6 other contestants to leave who had won. They saw and heard what happened and said that their dignity was worth more. When we got into the room where they had us all wait, I talked with some of the younger production team. They said that the game wasn't fair and that the orange team had mostly all strong men. They also said that our team had about 20 to 25 men, who most were old and the rest were women, in a team of 400. This was crazy to hear. They were so not prepared for 2,000 people, and it shows. I'm so glad I got eliminated so I didn't have to endure with the lack of sleep, eating meals that were in no way filling, and the lack of structure.
A lot of people were saying that, and it was terrible. They didn't feed us food. We got hit a lot by boys. We were starving. We were starving for food, and we told the people who work for MrBeast what time are we able to eat. They didn't give them any food to eat. So a lot of things came out with the MrBeast Games. Now that MrBeast has came out as a fraud by Dogpack404, now with the Ava Tyson situation with the Discord messages, and now there's the Beast Games. There's just so much things going on in the MrBeast brand. There's just so much things that's happening over here. And now we'll be talking about the Ava Tyson situation. From the Ava Tyson situation, he was talking to minors, and now the Discord is now public. Now it's public for us to be seeing it. And boy, oh boy, it looks terrible for Ava Tyson. And over here, there's the Discord messages that Ava Tyson has wrote. And doesn't look good for Ava Tyson. He ended up saying, make a chat called Server Secrets and give everyone active here right now perm to join. You're asking for a lot. Fire up the hentai archive, kids, because Chris is really fire up the lotion and get to yoinking. It's really shady. Like, he's over here making a secret Discord for people to join. just to send these inappropriate messages and pictures. Oh, it's so creepy from Ava Tyson. There's just so much things that's coming out with the Ava Tyson situation, with the messages, with the Discord, and with MrBeast. There's just so many things that we don't know, and there's just so many things that's coming out with the Ava Tyson situation. It's pretty terrible for MrBeast and Ava Tyson themselves. It looks pretty bad for them. And this has been Crook News, where we'll be talking about popular content creators around the world.